Um, yes, the session is going to be recorded. Um, and so if you, for any reason you need to, you know, miss a session, please let us know, but it is a mandatory time to be here with us, and it will be added to your classrooms where you can go back and have a look. But before we get started, I just want to first reintroduce my colleagues, Cole Arnett from iCube. Cole, you want to just wave? Everyone can see you. And my colleagues, Neelam from Edge and Tomar from Edge. And throughout the weekend, myself, Cole, and Neelam will be the primary facilitators of the sessions that we're going to go through together. And Tomar will be around to help with some crowd control or room control, Zoom room control, and be able to help to try to answer any questions as we go on during our time together. So I want to just start by sharing my screen, and we will get started. Awesome. Present. Okay, so again, warm welcome to everyone that is here. Tonight, we're gonna do some, the welcome, a little bit of intro activities. We're gonna use your fingers in a little bit to reintroduce yourselves to start. Cole is gonna take us through some of the technologies that we're using. I know some of you are already in the Google Classroom, so thank you so much for that. But we also use a tool called Slack, and I know some of you are on that as well. And Slack is a great place, either at iCube or Edge, where you can stay tuned to finding out some key resources and activities that's happening in our community. Then we're going to spend some time focusing on problem solving and really talking about, what problem are you solving? We really like to talk about, versus you're saying, I have this amazing solution, let me go find and try to make the market buy it from me, and really starting, okay, who has a problem, what problem is it, and really then going through a design thinking process to explore solutions for those problems. And we're going to talk a little bit about, clarifying values and solving wicked problems, as I kind of alluded to initially. So I want to just start with a land acknowledgement, and I believe in the orientation you had a chance to get the link to this just to see all of the different territories. Cool, if you want to post that again in the chat, I think that would be awesome. But we would like to acknowledge that for thousands of years, this has been and still is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, Anishinaabe Nation, Herowendat, and Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Our campuses sit on these lands, and it is our collective responsibility to honor and respect those who have gone before us, those who are here, and those who are yet to come. We are grateful for the opportunity to be working on this land. In the spirit of collaboration, celebrating innovation, and making our land acknowledgement practice meaningful, we would like to introduce Whose Land, an app that allows you to look at the territories where you live, work, and learn about the treaties and agreements that exist there. So thank you, and I hope you have a chance to look into that app. It's actually really cool and interesting. So we are here today. We're going to discover some tools and processes for generating and making ideas. We're going to learn what makes a great idea or turn an idea into an opportunity. We're going to learn about how Edge and iCube, I should have added iCube, no, we love you, can help you event your move forward beyond this point. And during the time, as I mentioned, really a chance for you to have some fun, meet some really nice people and other entrepreneurs on this journey, and collaborate with others as well. So the tools that we're using, and you did hear Zoom, we are recording this session that we'll then be sharing back to you all. During our time together, just ask that you remain muted. The webcam is not mandatory, but we encourage that if you can be on camera, please do so. I know sometimes it's like, man, I gotta put on my best and, you know, all of these things. You're among friends and family, it's all good. And we're gonna spend 3 days together. So I hope, especially when we get into the breakout rooms, at least, you know, if you can put on your camera in the big rooms when you're introducing yourselves to your peers, feel comfortable to do so, please do so. We're going to be using the chat box a lot, as well as giving you time to introduce yourself. So at this time, I want to invite everyone. I know we had a chance in the onboarding session, but there's new people, as I mentioned, 3 cohorts coming together for this onboarding session. So we have the Leap Startup League folks, we have the Social Impact Catalyst folks, and we have the Co-op on the Edge folks. So in the chat, if you want to put your venture name, your venture name, and you can also share which program you're part of. So LSL, SIC, and COTE, which is COTE. Yes. So I'll give everyone a chance to do that. I'll stop sharing for a moment. So as the names and stuff's coming in, we will appreciate that. Awesome. So your name, your venture, and the program that you're in. Awesome. And I'll also take this time to invite folks that might have just joined us. We've also invited you to rename yourself. So put your name and your company name beside you. That would be awesome. So if you're trying to figure out how to rename, if you hover over your screen, the 3 dots in the right-hand corner, you'll get an option to rename. Yes. Welcome to you all. And in a little bit, you will get a chance to share a little bit more about your company in smaller groups, a chance for everyone to meet and greet a little. Awesome. Alex, good to see you. Is that, yeah, Black Phone Hammond, awesome. Awesome. Special, no special treatment, but we had the opportunity of working with these dynamic sisters early on this year. So it's great to know that you guys are in the program. Great stuff. Awesome. So those names are coming in. And what I will what we'll do right now, you get an opportunity to go into breakout rooms to one in pairs. It is going to be random. All of us will go, but you're going to have about 3 minutes or so to introduce yourself. At the minute and a half, I'm going to just give you a cue, switch. You know, you could share a little bit about your venture. What are you hoping to get out of the program? And we will come back in a little bit. So I'm just going to open up the breakout rooms. Okay. Awesome. I think I did too many breakout rooms. Okay, our room should be opening in a few minutes. Few seconds, I should say. Awesome. So join the room, say hi to someone new, potentially. Omar, do you see the option to join a room?
Yep. You want me to join?
Yes.
Okay.
And who else is left with me? Natalie, do you see the option to join a room? Awesome. In the room, and thank you. Yeah, anyone new, interesting you met that you'd like to introduce to me? Because I have not met you all, so I'm open.
Sure, I would introduce Elizabeth. We had a really good chat. Elizabeth is currently looking to solve an issue when it comes to housing. And I believe for the past 2 years or so, her husband have been helping some refugees actually stay in their home. And through that process, they realized that housing is really expensive for newcomers. And now she's on a mission to create a construction company that would actually help and improve the lives of people that can't afford housing. And I
Hey,
thought
that
that was
is awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I can share. Grace has, I'm gonna put Grace on spot, but I was so impressed. She was just like, I have 1,000 followers on TikTok, and then she was like, that's not a lot. I was just like, how? I think of 1,000 people, and I'm just like so impressed. So yeah, so we have Grace from SIC who does amazing work.
Awesome. Good find. More than myself, I think I have 0 people on TikTok. So that's really awesome. We'll take one more.
I'll go.
Okay, hey, Mike.
I met Cole. We had this little chat. Kind of explained to him what the company that I'm trying to get off the ground does, and yeah, it was a good little chat. Too short though, but it was a good chat.
Hey.
I didn't get the opportunity to speak too much. Michael was a little long-winded, but I was very happy because I love listening to it. It was really cool.
Hey, that's awesome. Awesome. Thank you all for participating. And I hope that as we continue through our time this weekend, you'll have a chance to connect with others in the program as well. So Cole, over to you. Actually, you might need to share.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me share.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you might need to share your screen.
So just for everybody's reference, I know during the orientation, most of us were here, but most people had the opportunity to take a look at what was the Google Classroom and some of the different technologies that we use over the course of the semester. So I'm just going to give a general consensus and overview of what we will be using for the most part over the course of the next, 3-4 months. First and foremost being Zoom. Each of you are here today, and we'll be probably using Zoom for most, if not all, of the different workshops that we're going to be taking part in. Over the course of the semester, we participate with our learning management system via Google Classroom, and we've tried our best to try and make it so that it's at least not too much happening all at once. So we've divided it up into kind of a tier waterfall effect. So as stuff comes out, you're gonna see more of it pop in. I'm going to share my screen really quick so I can show you at least the student view of the classroom. Now, as Chris Beth mentioned before, most of you would have already had the opportunity to view the classroom and see the classroom. I handle a lot of the back end of the classroom, so I'm very grateful for everybody who's taken the opportunity to fill out some of the resources and the documents that require signatures and stuff over the course of the the classwork. There's 3 stages. Again, I'm just going to point them out. First is the stream, where you'll find all the new updates and everything that happens regarding any sort of assignments or things that get released, as well as some announcements. If you want to make an announcement to the class, you're free to type something out and say something. Please keep it PG, of course. And you'll also see announcements coming from the instructor side. So from myself or from Chris Beth or Neelam or somebody who's part of the cohort of teachers. Additionally, if you make your way over to Classwork, you'll see some of the different items that are available to you and the different types of things that are available to you. One of the things that you will most likely see, and what most of you have had the opportunity to look at, was the client contract. As you can see, I've made myself a student, so mine still says missing. But if not everybody has had the opportunity to fill out the contract yet for iCube, please do so. It just ensures that we're able to make sure that everybody is kept safe in the transaction and in the process of us providing these services to you. I want to make it an additional point out to the EDGE collaboration service agreement that you'll see here. This wasn't originally posted in the classroom, but I want to just post it here as well. This is the similar agreement provided by the EDGE staff, and just to make sure that any content that is provided to you from EDGE as well, and the service offerings that they're providing you are keeping everybody safe in the process. As you can see, we've made a couple different sections for you to view as you're making your way through the classroom. We have a section full of reference materials, and different sections will pop up as content makes its way through. So one of the ones that you've probably seen most recently is bootcamp preparation. Bootcamp preparation has been kind of the preparatory lessons and different pieces that are supposed to help prepare you for the bootcamp that we're going over for the next 3 days. And in there, it just contains a couple different slide decks, the opportunity for you to fill a couple different assignments and answer some questions. Excuse me. That pretty much give you a breadth of what we'll be doing over the course of the next few days. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you just review each of the content. It doesn't take an incredibly long amount of time. It's a mixture of videos and slide decks that kind of just give you an overview of some of the stuff that we're talking about. It can help you prepare those resources that we're going to be using over the next 2 days. So if you haven't had the chance to take a look at that, and if you haven't had a chance to pop in, just feel free. You click on the lesson, it'll open up a slide deck for you that you can view and go at your own pace. We'll go from there. I'm going to quickly see if I can actually go back because I can't see. Last but not least, you'll see the people section, which gives you the opportunity to see everybody else who's joining us in the classroom. For the most part, most of the people that are here today have also signed up in the classroom. If you have a co-founder, or if you have anybody who is part of your team who has joined the classroom, aside from yourself, I just want you to make note that there's only need for one specific account to do any sort of assignments or any sort of submissions via the Google Classroom. It isn't necessary for you to submit several versions of the same document. So if you have a team, if you have co-founders, I recommend you just use a single Google account to fill out any agreements that are required of you for the sections, and any sort of assignments or questions that need to be answered just by one member of the team. Additionally, I want to make sure, let me just pop in here. Slack. Slack is another one that I wanted to make note of, and I'm actually going to post, I'm going to stop sharing my screen very momentarily. And I'm posting this in the chat. For anybody who has not had the opportunity yet to join the EDGE community Slack, it's a really good way to keep everybody in the loop for everything that's going on. A lot of the sessions that are going to be happening throughout the semester are going to be posted there. Neelam is putting her big thumbs up because she is absolutely going to be one of the best people who's going to be interacting with you over the course of the entire semester. If you have a question, if you need some help, just berate her. She has so much time in the world. No, of course, you know, she's still human. She needs some time to herself. But if you have any things that you need assistance with, if you're wondering about when workshops are coming, or if you want to know about some specific opportunities that you're going to have access to over the course of the semester, the EDGE community Slack is your guide. Feel free to use that link, sign up for Slack. You can use whatever email you want to create your account, and we'll make sure that you get put into each of the specific forums that everybody's gotten access to, as well as a specific forum that we have just for our specific cohorts. So we'll have one for LSL, one for SIC, and one for our COTE individuals who are joining us for the session. I have one more piece that I want to show you, and that is my last but not least. I have to find it. Actually, I think I might save it for later, but we also generally use some collaborative pieces during the sessions. One example of collaborative technologies is our Jamboard. Jamboard is essentially a product or a tool that is provided by perfect. Thank you for the link. I appreciate that. Jamboard is a tool that's provided by Google that works really well and integrates well with the classroom. It essentially works like a big whiteboard that people can put sticky notes on, people can write, people can type, and collaborate with one another. We'll be using one of Google Jamboard today, which we're going to give you guys the link for access to in just a little bit. And when we pop up the Jamboard, I'll make sure to give a brief overview of what's available there. I believe that's everything in terms of the technology relapse for today, unless Chrisbeth can somehow think of something I might be missing, or possibly Neelam as well.
No, the only thing I would say is everyone could take a moment to click into that link that Neelam just shared so that we know that you're in the Slack community. How do you set up an account for Slack? Neelam? Oh, never mind. Okay, you got it. Yeah, just click into that link and it's pretty self-explanatory. It will pop up, give you the walkthrough. But the ask is definitely, I know the SIC folks are already in there. I believe the Co-op on the Edge folks are also in there. I think last but not least to get in there is the Leap Startup League cohort. And I'm telling you, the information that is shared on the channel is very robust. I'm getting an error.
Nora, did you use the link that I sent originally, or did you click on the link that Neelam provided?
So both. It's just, yeah, I don't know if you have to add on your end my email, but it should be open, you say, right? Maybe it's, am I the only one? Has anyone else tried?
So Nora, I can check backend. Maybe your email's there. If not, I can take your email separately in a chat and send you an email directly.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
And the link that should be shared is the 30-day one, right? So just double check that, Noreen, Neelam. 35? What was that? Sorry.
18 days.
18. Oh, they reduced it?
I generated it a few days ago.
So okay, so you got 18 days left. Okay, awesome. So yes, take a moment to do that. If you're having difficulties, Neelam will definitely be here to help you throughout this process. Okay, so to continue, I am going to share my screen once more. So as we're going through this time together, one of the main things is really looking at the problems that you're solving or tackling in with your business, and then also looking at who has that problem. So we're really going to take a time over the course of this bootcamp weekend to dive deeper into that, really understanding the problem. So my first question to each of you, what is the problem that you're working on? And so I'm going to give you a chance to go back into the breakout rooms. This time it's going to be potentially with someone new, but I really want you to hone in on what is the problem, right? Really being able to define what the problem is. Prior to coming to the bootcamp weekend, you also had the opportunity of going through the classroom and starting to work on what is called the value proposition canvas. Tomorrow, we're going to spend some more time talking about that, but you should have at least that part nailed. What is the problem that I'm working on? And sometimes when we use the word problem, people get overwhelmed. It's like, I'm not solving a problem, you know, but think about it from the perspective, a need, a desire, a want that exists in the marketplace that you're looking to solve. I know many of you are consider yourself a social enterprise, social ventures. One of the main things that, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, but one of the main things that we see is oftentimes folks solely focus on, okay, I need to solve this problem. I want to have a positive impact, but really not thinking through the sustainability of it. So over the course of our time together, we're going to look at both sides. So today you got a chance to talk about the problem that you're looking to solve. We're also going to explore the solution that you're going to be bringing to the marketplace in a sustainable way. So I am going to reopen. I'm going to stop sharing and reopen the
I've reassigned the rooms.
I did already.
Okay, well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. I rejumbled them this time so that now we have at least 2 people per room.
Yeah, so there's one room of 3. Or did someone new just join us again?
Yeah, we have exactly 24 now. So
okay, awesome. Awesome. I didn't put you guys in a room. So you guys will be in a room and then come back. So you will have about 5 minutes to share amongst yourself. There's a group with 3. What is the problem that you're solving? Okay, what is the problem that you're solving? I am 100% sure some of you were like mid-conversation and it just pulled you apart, right? I do apologize, but we will continue to try this again. So who would like to tell me about a problem, not your own, a problem that you heard about tonight? And who's solving it? Who's on mission to solve the problem?
I could go.
Awesome.
Not to butcher the idea, so I'm going to give you very basic information, but I was just wowed by it. Richie, he is creating another like social media platform that kind of, in my eyes, I know there's so much more to it, Richie, I was listening, but in my eyes, it just allows the users to take more control of their content and be able to create another way to like kind of have a way, like almost like another e-commerce sort of thing. But it's more in control of the user as opposed to people on the outside like Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. So I thought that was pretty unique and pretty neat.
Awesome. I'd ask you again, Shamika, tell me, what is the problem that he is solving or hoping to solve? You're muted.
So when I said, this is why I don't talk.
No,
you're good.
The floor is yours. You've done a great job explaining a solution, but what is that problem? What is that solution solving for? What is it trying to do for the end user?
So the problem is that currently right now, we don't own the rights to a lot of the stuff that we post on social media, and our content is always being managed by somebody else, whether they block it or don't allow you to post it and so forth. So that's the problem. Is that what we're looking for?
Hey,
okay, cool.
I will take it. And that sounds like a problem, right? We don't own our own content, and that's a problem, right? Okay, good job. Okay, who would like to go next? I'm asking, what is the problem that you discovered someone is working to solve?
I can go next.
Awesome.
Okay. So I had the, I'd say I had the privilege to meet Alex, and she's amazing. So she owns, she owns Black-owned Hammond, if I'm saying this right. Please excuse me if I'm not. And they're working on, so the problem they're working on right now is to figure out what are the resources that Black-owned companies need to grow, thrive, and survive. I hope I got this right. I think I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the problem. They're still working to research it.
Okay, so they're working to identify the problem. Okay, okay. And that's a good place to be as entrepreneurs in this early stage, most definitely. Anyone else? What is the problem? I'll take one more.
I met Grace, and Grace is trying to solve the problem of too much clothing ending up in our landfills. We donate clothing we don't want anymore to charities like Value Village, but unfortunately only 10% of that is actually sold, and the rest of it is discarded or shipped to developing countries, and it ends up in the landfills. So she's trying to stop that or greatly
Awesome.
reduce it.
I understood that problem. And you had data to back that problem. So I'm sure the Black-owned Hammond folks, you'd have the data to, once you do your research. And that was, Grace, you need to hire Elizabeth to be on your team, okay? But why we start with the, what is the problem? Far too many of us go to the solution first without truly understanding the problem. And the problem that we're on mission to solve is going, we're hoping that it is going to be impactful. It's going to make a difference in someone's life. It is going to be sustainable. And it is also going to be, you know, profitable in some cases. I don't know all of your ventures. I know some of you are for-profit and some of you may be non-for-profit. But one of the main things we like to talk about here is, you know, the social enterprise concept of the triple P, looking at the people, the planet, and the profits, ultimately required at least two of the three is required for a good, to be defined as a good business. So what we're gonna do over the next little while is explore the creative side of entrepreneurship. You know, some of us may say, I'm not creative. I may not have the skill set to, you know, be innovative, challenge the norms of what exists. So here it is. Yes, people have attempted your businesses before, and I'm sure if you look at the landscape, there are other people doing the same things or similar things that you're doing. But by embarking on a creative problem-solving journey, it gives you the opportunity to think innovatively how you can design and develop effective solutions. And so I'm just going to share my screen again with you, and we're just going to talk a little bit about we're going to go through this creativity workshop a little, and then we're going to go in deeper talking about design thinking. So just in the chat, would you say that you're a creative person? Yes or no? Am I a creative person? Yes or no? So you could put Y for yes, N for no. If you don't know, maybe you could put a maybe in the middle, you know, yes or no. Let's see what's coming into the chat there. I'm seeing, yes, I see.
One, yes, I hope.
Yes. Yes, okay. So I will tell you, one thing I've discovered over the years as an entrepreneur, I realized that entrepreneurs have a secret weapon of being like really great problem solvers. So I will say, if anybody had put no on there, I'm telling you, by the time you go through this process, your creative gene is going to be electrified and you're going to be on fire. So you're in the right place doing the right things. And so when we talk about creativity around our ideas, people come to me as a business advisor all the time. Is my idea a good idea? And I said, it sounds good, but it's not for me. And I challenge each and every one of you. Your ideas may sound good, but it's not for you ultimately. It's not for your mom, your dad, your auntie, your uncle, and your cat, right? Like it is for the marketplace. And when we really get a grasp of who it's for, it's beyond ourselves, right? And yes, some of you may have business ideas that you want to just develop as a hobby, and that is totally fine as well. But really thinking about the scope of what you're creating, realizing that it must go beyond 10 people, 10 sales, because that is not a business in itself. It's not sustainable in the long run. But keeping in the forefront the difference that you want to make. So today we're going to talk about what is creativity, what does creativity have to do with ideas. We're going to talk about how to generate ideas, how to select promising ideas. And this is really important, right? As an entrepreneur, I could tell you, I think I have ADHD. So many ideas. And I'm like, I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, I want to save the world. Okay. I'll tell you right now. But it's like tapering myself and going to focus and go deep. I tell people before you go wide, go deep. Find that niche that you want to build around and hone in on that marketplace. So we will continue. So I think everyone answered the question. You are creative, and I will definitely say so. And guess what? If you're, you may say, I don't really know, I'm just starting out in this way. Creativity is a muscle that will be developed as long as you're engaging in this space. I met someone recently and they said, entrepreneurship is the best personal development thing that you could do to enhance yourself, right? So you're looking at your problem solving skills, you're looking at your creativity skills, you're looking at your impact skills, discipline, time management. As an entrepreneur, you're embarking on the greatest personal development journey of your life. And sometimes people are like, was I born this way? As I said, you can develop it, use it daily as your problem solving, and you can ultimately grow as a creative entrepreneur. So brainstorming. And one of the things around creativity where we like to start is that you need to be open. You may hear me talk about the beginner's mindset, open to learning and absorbing and exploring what could be. Sometimes we wake up as entrepreneurs and we're like, this is the way it must go. And we go out into the marketplace and we get a big no, and not just one, many no's. And we're now having to think about, how do we do this? I know I want to solve I know I want to solve the landfill problem, but how can I? What was done before in the past? Where have other people failed at this? And how can I really develop something that is sustainable? And the one great way that we found to support entrepreneurs on this journey is brainstorming. So there are 4 core components around brainstorming: deferring judgment, going for quantity over quality, seek novelty, seek things that may not necessarily be in existence. Have you guys heard of Elon Musk? Like, this guy, you may like him or not, but he pushes the boundaries, right? And something I don't think anyone can fault him for. It's like, we're going to Mars, we're going to build a colony on Mars. Surreal, it's never been done before. And then what is so important on this brainstorming journey is making connections. So the ideas that you have, then saying, okay, how can I put this together? So there's the terminology of divergent thinking. So we're gonna go wide and then we're gonna converge on a point whereby we can, make decisions. As an entrepreneur, the main thing that you need to be able to do in your business is make a decision and move forward. And one of the things I believe the folks who are currently researching, and we're all going to go through this process of researching, you're going to discover that evidence-based decision is so critical and important for you to make informed, educative, a wise decision. Not all the decisions that you make will be successful, but you're going through the motions of learning, failing, growing, moving forward, and so on. And so, welcome to brainstorming. So there's a concept called force connections. If you've heard of force connections before, put a yes or no in the chat again. Let's see what people know about force connections. Yes, for yes, I know about it. No, I don't know about it. Maybe I know about it. What are we seeing, Cole? 1 second.
We're actually seeing mostly no's.
Okay. Hey, and I'm going to challenge you. All of you know something about force connections, but by the end of this, you're gonna get a chance to see, okay? So on the screen here, we have 3 images. My ask of each of you, maybe you have a pen and paper close by, or did you want to go onto the Jamboards? Yeah, go to the Jamboard. Okay, so yeah. We will go to the Jamboard. Cole is gonna put a link in the chat for you, and we'd love to see each of you in that room. So I will flip over to that. Cole, do you want to just walk them through this? Yeah. Do we have slides enough for everyone? What were you hoping
we're
to do?
We're going to be making slides for everyone. For the first activity with force connections, we're just going to all operate on one slide and put our own ideas here.
Okay.
Just to have access for everybody. So,
okay. Do you want them to draw? Do you want them to write?
I'm going to give we're going to use sticky notes. So for everybody who's actually on the Jamboard right now, as well as anybody who's currently looking at the shared screen, if you pop over to the left side of the screen, you're going to see a slew of options you can use to either draw, erase, point, click, write, insert a picture. For now, please avoid using too many of the options. We're going to try and go straight for the sticky note. And even if we want right now, Chris Beth's going to show a quick test. If you click on the sticky note, you can choose any color you like. She's got right now orange, perfect. I like orange. Orange is my favorite color. And what you can do is you can type anything you like. There's a limit of characters, but for now, we'll just click a nice little hello. Once it pops onto the screen, it's going to be able to be moved around and resized.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just gonna make this a little big so that everyone can see, and then I'll make it small again. So the task at hand, my creative entrepreneurs, is for you to combine all 3 of these elements or pieces of them to create a new product. So you will have 5 minutes to brainstorm a new product using a phone charger, a mask, and a glove. And you can use elements of it. You can use one as the core. I'm not going to give any more hints. Use your creative power to come up with a brand new product. Let's see what we can get in 5 minutes. And as your ideas come, pump it out there. And, oh yes, so I see someone here, they wrote it a heated PPE for chilly days. And if you see someone's idea on here, maybe you can build on it, right? You can add something new to it.
Michael has a question in the chat, and it's actually a really good question. Do we have to use all 3 items? What I encourage you to do is use any number of the items that you see, or even any characteristics of the items that you can think of to create a new thing. So, for example, Bernie Sanders' costume. You caught the reference we were making with those gloves. I like it. For example, if you want, you can take a property of one of the items. For example, let's say the color of the gloves are brown. How can you combine a color of one item with maybe a property of another? It doesn't necessarily need to be the exact item itself. And I'm loving it. We've got already at least, what is that, 7? I'm horrible at counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7 items right off the bat, which is beautiful. And what I encourage you to do, just like Chris Beth mentioned before, is that even though you've seen an item or you see something, don't be afraid to build on that, to take something from one and combine it with another. It's a really good tool to exercise that brainstorming muscle. Portable mask player. We talking like a speaker? Got mitten warmers. Mitten storage in disguise that can store a mask and a phone charger. That's actually kind of smart. I'll defer judgment though. I apologize.
Yes, thank you.
One thing that Chris Beth, I don't know if you mentioned or not, deferring judgment is important in both ways. It's important not to always praise right off the bat either. Don't put don't put ideas down, but don't praise ideas right away because you can set yourself on a narrow path forward. We got
Okay.
UV sterilizer for PPE, solar panel material to make masks and gloves, producing enough energy to charge your phone. Breathing in from the mask is used to charge your phone and gloves. Some that are kind of hidden. I'm seeing a lot of warmness attributed to the gloves, which was very, very apparent for today. I don't know if any of you had
Much
snow
needed
like we
snow.
had here in Toronto.
Okay, we're gonna give it about a minute more.
If
Get your
everybody
ideas
could
on
do
there.
one more idea, yeah. Self-cleaning mask and gloves.
Ooh, I like that. I mean, I defer my
Careful
judgment.
now. You defer your judgment. Mask projector for facial expressions. I'm thinking like when I see that, I think of like Dead Mouse or whatever that is. He's got like his little helmet. Mittens as a source of energy from hands to charge phone. Let's say like 10, 15 more seconds, maybe one or two more ideas if anybody can think of them. Come on, we got 23 people. I should see at least 23 ideas. Mix chloroplast fibers with masks and gloves to convert solar energy to power. I have 18 ideas altogether. Not quite one from everyone, but we'll take it for now.
Awesome. So that was great. How was that experience for you? Feel free to unmute and share. How was that experience for you? Anyone? I can't see everyone, so if you want to just
Any takers can feel free to unmute.
Yes, please and thank you.
It was great.
Thank you, Kadeem.
Wonderful.
I'll just quickly say I also really like the freedom for creativity, so I didn't have to worry about like logistics of things. I could just go free for all.
Person, I think you were unmuted.
We have Evelyn as well, I think.
Yeah, I felt like it was really cool just because I didn't think I could be so inspired by a phone charger, face mask, and mittens. And I just felt like it was really nice seeing all the possibilities.
Hey, that's awesome. Anyone else? Take one more.
I see Michael's unmuted.
I'll say it was a bit challenging because having those three items and putting them together and make something is not pretty much something that you would think of off the top of your head.
Agreed.
It's funny you mentioned challenging. One of the things that I think is so useful about taking the opportunity to participate in these little sessions and try and practice to stretch the brain muscles when it comes to creativity is that it's not easy. And once you finally start getting to the point where we've gone through the initial ideas, it's really cool to finally get to the point where you can't think of the stuff that's super obvious, and that's where the really neat ideas come out.
Agreed.
Awesome. So are we good to keep moving forward?
Yes, I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of this for
yes, I know you'll
later.
need it later. Yes. Awesome. So friends, That was challenging. It was fun. It was exciting. Endless possibilities. And you did it, right? Something that seemingly was so impossible, by giving some thought, maybe looking at what others had put forward. And I'll just go back to this. I think we got 23 on their call, or 24. We got quantity, right? And I did see some very unique novelty type ideas. There were some really great ones there, although the first one is defer judgment on the criticism side, as well as the praise, as Cole mentioned, and ultimately making some connections. So I want to just show you all. So this is what we did, which is Cole. Thank you so much, Master Guy. Here's an example of everyday force connection: tablets or phones, right? Things that at one point you had to go to the computer. I remember when we first got our first computer in Trinidad, and you get the dial tone, you know, that dial-up sound, and the computer was just for the computer, right? The big floppy disk, put it in, make it work. We have notepad. So before it was the pen and paper, the tactile stuff. Now that happens inside of our tablets, right? Or cameras. And before you had to get that camera. Now a camera on our phones. All of this is an example of force connection. Here's another one, right? You think about a bus and a boat coming together. Has anyone ever seen this before? Or been on one of these before? I see Neelam, you're saying no. Anyone else? Yes? Any yeses in the room? Have you seen this before? Have you seen this before?
We have a couple yeses, a yes from Richie. He put his hand up. Some yeses in the chat.
Awesome. And let me ask you here, what problem do you think the inventor of the amphibian bus is solving for the customers on the boat? On the bus? And feel free to unmute. What problem are they solving for the users of the service?
Maybe they don't want tourists to get off the bus and then get on the boat and then take the tour, so they can just do it all at one go.
That's a great one. Anyone else? Any other problems come to mind?
Deem has written seasonal tides obscuring roads.
Ooh.
If there are two, like if the river or whatever, if the water body is separating two parts of the city, like, I guess.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Right. And so the problems could be endless. And this is where when we come to time talking to you about your own business and the problems that you're addressing, what we want to get at is the core problem that people are facing, right? And so you talk about, you know, the time going from one vehicle to the other. People maybe be complaining, they like too much up and down, all of these things. And they're like, we're gonna create a vehicle that can do both, right? I love what you shared in terms of maybe the tour, the trip was separated by a body of water. So you'd had this transition back and forth. Again, time, but really looking at that convenience, right? Here is another one, a laparoscopic surgical camera. And so you're like, okay, has anyone heard, everyone's heard of this before? Yes, some yeses, no's, maybe not. But this is a surgical tool that is designed to conduct surgeries to help people, you know, I think our past presenter, Patrice, shared her sister actually had a surgery from her navel to the side of her, to her side. And what they used was a surgical tool that left a massive scar all the way across. And years later, a family friend had the same or similar surgery. And it was just an incision that went in and came out. The scarring was reduced. The surgery was done in a more efficient way as well, using combining a surgical tool and a camera, being able to get a insight into the procedure as people were going through it. So the one she shares with this is the guy who created the barcode was actually inspired by the shore, the beach and the sand on the shore, right? Different grades demonstrating different results, and voila, you get a barcode. Awesome. So I share those things with you all because maybe where your idea is sitting right now, you may be faced with a challenge. You may be faced with, oh my goodness, what do I do next? And what we're inviting you to do is try taking a brainstorming process with yourself, one, or with others as well. And we oftentimes, when we get talking about the design thinking methodology, we're inviting you to have the customers do this with you, right? You shouldn't be building in isolation when you're developing solutions for the end user, making them part of that process. So we're talking about idea generation. Each of you were accepted into the various programs because you came in with an idea, and we feel by being part of our ecosystem, you're definitely able to get supported along this journey. And so Cole, I pass it over to you. We're gonna do some more brainstorming, but in a group format now. And I could stop sharing.
I just have to make sure I was unmuted. So I'm gonna start sharing very soon. But what I want to make mention of is we're gonna be going back to the Jamboard that we were using before. I'm going to quickly actually just type out a couple of different groups, and maybe Chris Beth, you could also type out some extra groups in the back end. I'm going to make 3 groups for us to kind of band together and use the same Jamboard to kind of say some of the ideas that we're thinking of. Once I get the screen up, it's always annoying to do so. Okay.
Okay, so
Sharing
I've created 3 groups.
Awesome. Rapid fire brainstorming. Okay, so most of you should be able to see now, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to use this opportunity to kind of go through another brainstorming tool known as rapid fire brainstorming, very similar to what we were doing before with the forced connections, but instead of using 3 or 4 different items that we see in front of us, we're going to use the collective power of each of our creative minds to help provide one another with different ways that we can solve problems that we're currently tackling. So what we're going to aim for, and I know it says 7 minutes per person, we'll probably do somewhere around that number, and each one of us, Chris, Beth, myself, and Neelam, who's going to be heading each of the rooms, is going to kind of keep tabs on making sure that everything's going smoothly. We're going to let hopefully every person have an opportunity to list the idea that they're working on right now, the problem that they're trying to solve specifically with that idea. And then each person in the group is going to try and think of some really creative ways to tackle the issue that's trying to be solved. I want to make sure that we're all remembering what is said before with the rules of brainstorming. When coming up with ideas, this is for both the people in the room and for the person having the problem solved for them, is to defer judgment. We want to defer good judgment and we want to defer bad judgment. But altogether, we don't want criticism and praise because we could get ourselves down a very narrow mind of thinking. I want to remind you, go for quantity. Don't be afraid to pop an idea out there, and as soon as it pops into your head, feel free to write it down because it's going to be a super useful way to get as many ideas out on the board. When you start developing those ideas and you really push out a lot of different ideas, that's where the novelty comes. And as you see here, go for the wild ideas because different is good. You'd be surprised how many times in a meeting or in let's say a boardroom discussion or in strategizing for large corporations that wild and outlandish ideas were brought to the forefront. That may not have been the idea that was used at the very end, but was probably one of the ideas that got the business to where it is today. And last but not least, again, make connections. So if you see an idea that makes you spark something, hey, I think that could be cool. Okay, how can I add on to that with this other idea or something else? Don't be afraid to do that either. So assuming that the rooms are made, I'm going to quickly pop back. Everybody's going to get the chance. We'll do about 7 minutes per person. That's 2 minutes to describe your idea, no longer. We're going to try and do our best to make sure that that's kept that way, and at least 5 minutes for everybody to put down some ideas.
Yeah,
So,
so I just wanted to say, Neelam, you will be in one room, Cole, you will be in one room, and myself and Toma will be in another room. Each participant will get 2 minutes, as Cole mentioned, and then 5 minutes for the group to support. What I will ask for the group leaders, so Cole, Neelam, and myself, when we go to another participant, just add a page so that we know we could follow along. I think there's about 7 participants per group. So Cole, if you wanted to already add in the 7 pages in each group, I think that would be fine. But I think we are ready to go. Neelam, you got your timer? 2 minutes and 5?
awesome.
Okay, I'm going to start the breakout room.
Okay, so for those of you who are back, glad to have you back. I hope you had the chance to stretch for a second, because sitting for long periods of time is definitely not good for your back. It's definitely not good for mine. So we had the opportunity, each of you should have had pretty much the chance to take some time to generate some ideas. I'm glad if you guys had some new ideas, and from what I heard, it was really good. So very happy. On our end, personally, we had what I think on an average of 20 ideas per person, which is pretty decent. I think we got some good numbers there. So really happy. But now it's, what do we do with the ideas, and how do we know which ideas are good? One of the really cool things about brainstorming is we start to generate a lot of different ideas, and we really come back to those ideas that are novel, those ideas that are unique. And we've done this thing called diverging and participating in divergent thinking. We're expanding upon what we're trying to do to solve whichever problem that we're trying to solve. And it's really good to have lots of ideas coming from different sources, because it can provide you with those different perspectives that you may not have had before to try and solve the problem you're solving. But now when you want to assess your ideas, we have to start converging and coming down to maybe 2, 3, 4 ideas that we think are stronger and maybe fit and tackle the problem that we were originally trying to solve. So when you're assessing your ideas, we want to kind of go just a little bit opposite to what we were doing when we were looking at the rules of brainstorming. So first, we want to make sure with any ideas that we're assessing, we want to be affirmative. So if you see an idea, we want to start with the positives. We want to think, what's good about this idea? What can we say makes this idea strong? Right before we go in and being deliberate and doing those snap judgments to say, oh, that won't work, or oh, that's not a great idea. So when we're being deliberate, we want to give each of the ideas that we've put forward a fair chance and trying to explore it, because it could lead to an avenue that we may not have thought could be good before. Again, we do want to still consider novelty, because just because an idea might seem out there, as stated, doesn't mean that that idea can't necessarily be a great one. Consider what's unique about the idea, and maybe even turn it in a way that you can adjust it. So maybe it isn't as outlandish, but still kind of focuses on the core of what it was trying to solve. But first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're checking your objectives. And when we say checking your objectives, we mean we want to make sure that we're trying to actually tackle the problem that we were originally looking at. So for example, I'm going to use the example that was said to us before in the session about trying to reduce waste for clothing and making sure that less clothing ends up in landfills. Some of the ideas that we had, that wasn't necessarily in my group, but some of the ideas that we had might be really cool ways to reduce the amount of clothing we use, or find better ways to recycle. But how can we make sure whichever idea that we go with is trying to attribute to the goal that we started with? And does the idea that we have put forward maybe provide a new outlook into a way that might be more effective than what we originally thought? So I'm going to provide to each of you a quick tool that we like to use from time to time, and one of my favorite tools whenever solving business case studies or trying to tackle a problem that might seem like there could be a couple, maybe 2, 3 really strong ideas, but you're not quite sure which one has the most promise. We generally use an evaluation matrix or a evaluation decision matrix when we have somewhat of a finite set of ideas, ones that aren't going to be too many, because we want to start kind of bearing down on everything that's been provided to us. And we want to make sure we're rating each of these ideas against each other so that we can give maybe the best idea, or what we thought might have been maybe not the best idea, but turns out to be the best idea, the care and attention it deserves. So when we do that, we want to rate against our criteria. And I'm going to go back to the whole idea about checking your objectives. When we want, bring that back over. When we're looking at the ideas, we want to make sure it's solving what we were trying to solve. So when we look at the 3 to 5 criteria or the characteristics of the idea that make it really strong, we want to give those we want to use those criteria to kind of weigh it against the ideas that are coming towards us. So I'm going to show you an example of what an evaluation matrix might look like and how we can use it to weigh ideas against one another. So on the left side here, you can see that we've provided idea 1, idea 2, and idea 3. And we've provided our evaluation criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4. For the purpose of this is very simple. Each criteria has essentially the same weight. So as long as it meets the criteria that we're talking about, we can rate that idea for whatever number. So an example could be idea 1 is strong in criteria 2 and 4, but not super strong in criteria 1 and 3, and it gives it a decent score. You add up all your scores together to get a total score once off the board using a scale. How well does it meet the criteria? Does it not meet it well? Does it meet the criteria super well? And then once you've weighed all the ideas against one another, it's a really cool way to kind of see, hey, maybe the idea that I thought was the strongest right off the bat doesn't solve as many of the problems or as many of the areas that I'm trying to tackle as I initially thought. And this idea that's coming up second might actually be a little bit better. So as a quick way that we can all kind of work together and just use this as a little bit of an opportunity to give it a shot, we're going to kind of move back to what we did before with our forced connections activity. Just as an example to push through really quickly. So we came up with a bunch of different inventions that were examples of ways that we could connect each of these different ideas together to make something brand new. And we're going to use these some of these ideas to plop it into our little evaluation matrix and maybe give some criteria to see how good they are at fixing a specific problem. So I invite each of you to maybe pop in the chat. I can't necessarily see the chat, so I'm going to rely on my colleagues to help me out a little bit. But I want each and every one of you to maybe give an example or see something here that you think is deserving of being one of the 3 ideas that we're just gonna try and give a little bit of weight to and see if we can compare them to one another. So I'm gonna give a chance at, like I said, I can't quite see the chat, but I encourage you, if you have a specific idea that you think is worthwhile or that we should use as one of the examples, for the evaluation matrix, just pop it in the chat.
I have the heated PPE for those chilly days.
So we got heated PPE. Okay, I'll bring it back. I'm a little biased. That was mine. I'm happy.
Anyone else? Oh, we have the self-cleaning mask and gloves.
Okay.
We need one more.
Choose any single one. We'll just go for the top 3 right now. That's just an example.
Cole, do you want to zoom in a little more?
Sorry, let me zoom in a little more then. I can't, I might have to go this way and go right back to the beginning because I can't zoom in anymore, I don't think.
Okay.
It's not letting me, I apologize.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. How about we go with portable mask and mask player, a speaker.
Okay, so we got a speaker in the mask. Let me come down here. I'm going to call it mask phones instead of headphones. So we can use any criteria we technically want to use, but for the purposes of staying on track and staying on time and making sure we don't stay too late tonight, I'm going to use some basic criteria. So we're just going to say cost to make. How much do you think? We're going to say a 5 would be it's going to be super cheap to make, easy for us to make. A 1 being very expensive to make. For 2, we're going to be like people want to buy.
You recommended innovation as well.
Innovative. 5 being the most innovative. Oh, that is not spelled correctly. 5 being the most innovative, 1 being the least innovative. I need 1 more criteria if anybody wants to think of one.
Easy to use.
Easy to use. Easy to use. Okay. So we're gonna just quickly chalk it up to the chat, and just for the purposes, I'm gonna need some help because I can't see. Just quickly put in a number for what you think this will be. So for example, for heated PPE, how do you think it's going to be expensive to make? Or do you think it's going to be cheap to make? 1 being the cheapest, or sorry, 5 being the cheapest and 1 being expensive.
I see a bunch of 1s. Arik said 3.5. 2.
So it sounds like a 2 to me. How about self-cleaning masks?
Most of them are 2.
How expensive do you think a self-cleaning mask might be?
1, 1, 1.
1, 1, mostly 1s?
5. There's 1 5, so the average is now really off the chart.
We're gonna go by median instead of mean on that one.
Okay. So there are 3 1s, I guess.
And mask phones, headphones inside your mask that play music.
3, 1, 1.
You guys think everything's expensive? My goodness.
3. We don't have money.
I'm gonna put 3. I heard a lot of 3s. I'm making an executive decision. Okay, if you want to buy it, put a 5. If you don't want to buy it, put a 1. Or in between, of course. How many do you really want heated PPE?
I see a 3, a 4, a 3, a 4.
All right, 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 seems.
Self-cleaning masks. Never have to throw it in the laundry again, assuming you use a reusable.
2.5, 2, 3, 1, 3. I'd say 3 on average, or 2.5.
All right, 2.5. And mask phones. Do you want your mask to have headphones in it? I'm relying on people.
2, 4. Okay, it's 3.
I'm hearing a 3 because 2, 2, and 4.
Oh, a 1.
Quick fire, come on. All right. Does it seem innovative? Heated gloves, heated mask. Does it seem like something new?
One, 3, 4, 1, 1.
So 1, 3, 4, 1, 1. So let's say 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
All right. Self-cleaning masks. Does it seem really innovative?
4, 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
Oh, okay. I'll put 3.5. That's fine. I'll put 4. Let's put 4. I heard a lot of 4s, so I'm happy with 4. And is your mask that plays music, is that innovative?
3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 2.
And all right, I'm popping it in. Heated PPE. Easy to use?
4, 4, 4.
Seems like a 4 to me.
Hmm.
Self-cleaning mask. Would that be easy to use?
3, 2.5. 2.5. 3, 3, 2.75.
2.7. Oh, come on. You guys are copping out. And last but not least, let's just make it nice and easy. Mask phones. Would it be easy to use?
3, 2, 2, 2.
All right.
2.5.
I'm going to put it 2 for all intents and purposes. So this is a quick way that you can kind of break your way through and kind of weigh these options. Now, I know we kind of rushed through this. When you're doing this in a real life scenario and weighing your ideas, you want to be much more astute in making sure that you're going right ahead with it. But for this one, we're just going to go for it. So what is that? 4, 8, and that's what, 12?
12.
4 plus 4 plus 2.5 is, sorry?
10.5.
10.5. Quick maths. 3, 3.
10.5.
10.5. So it looks like heated PPE is our big winner by comparison. So that's a quick example of how you can use a tool like a decision matrix to weigh certain ideas and certain objectives against one another. We're going to include a much more thorough and a much more refined version of our evaluation matrix in the Google Classroom, one that you can use as a template for when you're judging ideas compared to one another. It can be a really cool way that you can actually use to kind of justify some of the stuff that you're doing and how you might be better than maybe the competition as well. There's many different ways that you can use this. I will technically, I think, give it back to Chris Beth now if she wants to finish up, unless she would like me to continue. You're muted. I can't tell.
Yeah, you can go until
we move to design thinking?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So what else can I do to further develop my ideas? I talked about kind of converging and building upon your ideas, and I want to kind of touch back on what we said before when we were looking at assessing our ideas. When you want to develop your ideas and you think you've got something that might be good, you want to think about what's good about it, and also what maybe are some of the issues and the problems of your ideas. It's important to take any ideas that we're converging upon and seeing if they truly address the issues that we were going on before and try and dissect them a little bit. You want to make sure that anything that you're doing, anything that you are actually pursuing, you're doing a little bit of extra time, or you're taking a little bit of extra time to research before you really go to put the work in on the idea and actually go to market with it, for example. So how does this idea actually help the problem that I'm trying to solve? Or how might the business idea that I'm trying to work on affect the people that I'm trying to affect? It's important to bring kind of the context surrounding the idea into the forefront of your mind to make sure that you can understand how your idea will affect the market that you're trying to reach, how your solution will try and affect the people that you're trying to affect. And when you look at it, you want to look at, what do I bring to the table? You want to compare yourselves to what ideas are already out there, what businesses are already out there, who's already trying to tackle some of the issues that you're trying to tackle, and see how you bring something different to the table. You can also look at it from a perspective of, what do you bring to the table in your team if you have co-founders, and how can you serve to tackle the issues that you're trying to tackle in a way that maybe somebody else isn't already doing. With this, you want to understand yourself as well. So you'll see here we've got a little graph that says personality, interests, aptitudes, values, and expectations. Just know that you yourself are an exceptional person, and you're here today because you want to solve an idea. You want to solve a problem. You want to provide a solution to individuals, but you have to understand what you're capable of and what you're able to do. So it's important to set realistic expectations on what you can do, and surround yourself with people who can maybe help you out. That's because your interests in what you have and what you're working on might be geared towards one perspective. You want to make sure that that's what's actually matching the market and what's actually going to be affecting everything that's around you. I want to bring in this quote. I don't know if it was actually said by Albert Einstein, but I could be wrong. Maybe it is, but you really want to focus on the problem you have at hand. The quote given here is, given 1 hour to save the world, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and 5 minutes finding the solution. We're going to be touching upon this over the course of the entire semester in many different ways, and with some upcoming workshops, as well as the rest of the bootcamp series that we're going to be going through, because we really want you guys to make sure that you're focusing on the problem you're trying to solve, and not just the symptoms of the problem, not just what you think might be the solution right off the bat, because that's what you think would do to solve the problem. You want to make sure you're giving adequate time and care into making sure that anything that you're trying to solve is going to be something that's actually going to be a specific pain point to a customer, especially one that's going to be so much so that people are going to be willing to spend money. People are going to be willing to put money into it. If you're not actually trying to get money and you're working as a non-profit, maybe that the pain is enough for as many people around the world that you're going to get, grant funding for your business in order to solve that problem. So make sure any time that you take, any effort that you put in, before you actually go and start spending money on the idea or trying to bring that idea to the market, that you're taking the effective time to actually define the problem that you're working on. With this, it comes with understanding the context, and we'll actually touch upon this a little bit later in the session when it comes to bigger things happening around you. When we start understanding the context, we want to look at which problems we're trying to solve for the people that we're trying to solve it for, and how can you touch upon any of these different areas in order to make your solution one that's going to be more effective or differentiate yourself from the competition when you're working on what you're doing. Is a problem that you're trying to solve in the context of a social or cultural situation? Are you trying to focus on ways that you can better the environment or the emotional and mental health of others? Can you use technology to your advantage in any of these aspects? And will the use of technology or the inclusion of any of these other pieces of context aid you in your goal and aid you in your journey to making sure that you're solving an effective issue? Making sure that you understand the context follows up with what I said before. You don't need to necessarily think that your idea is right off the bat going to be the best one to solve. If it was, then people would be buying right off the bat. So make sure you take the time, do your research, and put in the effort to ensure that what you're trying to do is going to be fixed in the context that you're trying to do it in. And with that, I will pop it over to design thinking. Go ahead, Chris. Do you want to share, or do you want me to continue sharing?
Yeah, I'll share.
All right.
Hey, cool. Thank you so much for that session. And honestly, I feel I share the sentiment of others. I think you were a little biased in that, but it was a good experience. And definitely, as Cole mentioned, something that you all could take back to your team, you could take back to the users that you are, hoping to solve. Before we end off our session tonight, we are going to just talk a little bit about design thinking. And just for everyone in the room, I'm curious to find out who knows what design thinking is all about. And you could put yes and no again in the chat. That would be great. And Cole and or Neelam, you can tell me who's in the room, what's coming in.
We have one kinda so far.
Kinda. I like kindas. That tells me you're kind of doing some work, which is good.
We have a yes.
Okay.
We have a lot of people who are afraid to type. We have a no.
Okay. And it's okay if you don't know either. That's totally fine.
Allegedly. A little bit. Yes, I was in the design thinking workshop. All right. We have a resident expert who can probably even provide some insight.
Hey.
We have an I think so, a yes. So mixed
Awesome.
Across the board.
Awesome. And so I am not going to claim to be a world-renowned expert at design thinking, but I will claim to be that I use the design thinking methodology in my own business, and I've seen the benefits of doing so. And really, it is one way to engage and understand your customer in a way that it takes you through an iterative process. I really like it because it gets right to the core of the problem. I think Cole mentioned you don't want to just tackle symptoms of the problem. You want to get to that core problem and who has it. So I'll just start with this illustration. Regardless the type of business that you are building, it is encouraged that you use a design thinking methodology. And just to explain what is happening, and for those of you who already tapped into the social enterprise concept, good job. For those of you who have no clue what it is, it's all good, an opportunity to learn about it. And what we see currently in the Canadian landscape in particular, there's a rise of social enterprise and a rise to support social enterprise. However, Canada doesn't have one specific, definition of what a social enterprise is. In my own interpretation, it could be either a for-profit or non-profit organization that is doing business for good and generating profits to help with the sustainability of their organization. So you could be solely a non-profit. And so you have example here, traditional charities, once they're established, dependent on government fundings, donors, endowments, all of those things. And you all probably have seen, and my journey started out in the nonprofit world. And I used to say to my parents, money isn't important, and because I just want to help people. And my dad said, but whose money are you using to help people with? And I said, yours. And he's like, therefore, money is important, right? And so if we're not factoring how revenue is coming in or money is coming in to support the social cause or purpose, we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage. And if we only have one methodology or one way of getting revenue into our nonprofit organizations and charities, we fall into the risk of funding turn off, organization close. It is not sustainable. So I really challenge and encourage people to really think along the lines of social enterprise as a nonprofit. What else can we do other than the grants and the funding to make our organization sustainable? Whereas you have traditional for-profit business, it's all about the profit. Let us pillage, let us just go and do all these craziness. And then, you know what? You started hearing things like corporate social responsibility. So they're still doing bad in bad business. And they're like, oh, we're gonna give some to community. But where you've seen this rise of even for-profit businesses saying, we can do business for good. We can still generate revenue to make sure that we're sustainable, but we're also going to keep at our core and our values the impact that we want to make in community. So Neelam, I don't know if you want to add anything else to this before I go on to the next couple slides.
Sure, I can just add a bit. I think one of the reasons why there's some confusion is because the Canadian government and the tax laws do not have a distinction for social enterprises. So some countries, for example, the UK has a clear definition under their law and tax exemptions for social enterprises. So you would see some countries that have definitions where it's easy to classify as one. Countries that don't have legal frameworks, it's slightly complex because it's really dependent on how you translate it. But just like Crispet said, any business that generates revenue and has profits, and then what they do with the profit is really diverse. How their missions are defined. So they could be on this whole spectrum, either towards the traditional businesses or more towards reinvesting their profits into good causes. You could be anywhere on the spectrum and still qualify as a social enterprise as long as your business generating revenue and doing good on triple bottom line, which is people, planet, profit.
Yes, awesome. And so when we talk about design thinking, it incorporates 5 core areas of building out your business idea. And so I just go back to that previous slide. Regardless of the type of entity that you're using to develop, it is in this methodology, it is and could be very helpful to you establishing a sustainable business, which is what we're a sustainable enterprise, sustainable business, which is one of the encouragements that we're doing. I think throughout the evening, we've heard of the word research, and it is something that is core and essential that we would talk to you more about during this time period as well. The first one on there is empathize, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. The second one is defining the problem, empathizing with the people who matter. And even if you're looking at tackling an environmental problem, if you can tie that back to the heart of, or make that connection to how it's impacting the people, because ultimately it's the people that will fund your environmental change, right? So if that connection exists there and they understand, they're like, man, you know, we're all gonna be, landfills are gonna be everywhere. We need to limit the landfills. And I go back to that example we had earlier, but really, who is affected? What is the, and then being able to say what the problem is. And I remember at the beginning, I said, tell me the problem. Don't go to the solution just yet. What is the problem? Can be really clear about it. We just went through the brainstorming process, and this is similar to where we talk about ideate. Now that you have a problem, let's brainstorm and think about different solutions that could be part of to help solve this problem. And as I mentioned before, most of us in this room are solopreneurs. Know that you don't have to go through the ideation process alone. I highly encourage and invite you to reach out to your target market with clarity, who they are and what they are looking for, to help you brainstorm as well. Cole and Neelam are great brainstormers as well, and your mentors may be able to help you in that way. And then you start prototyping. I want to stress on this so many times. I've had clients come to me, $40,000 spent on an application that they thought that they were going to, you know, revolutionize how Indians spoke English to pass their tests to come to Canada, all of these things. They spent $40,000, and I stress that, plus, they didn't want to disclose the full amount, but they spent all of this on a product that nobody wanted to even use for free. You don't want that to be your story. I know in my small group, we had a couple people saying they're getting ready to do release their prototype, all of these things. Make sure that you're testing in a very simple, creating the prototypes. You know, even if it's the screen, I think Cody mentioned he just has screens. Make sure that you're testing in a way that it helps you to save time and money being a big one, right? Depending on what you're looking to bring to market. And then once you have a prototype, you take that to market and you get some feedback, and you see the loop at the bottom here. It is not a linear process. You may go, okay, we define the problem, we ideate, but none of the prototypes make sense. We might have to go back to the customers to understand their problem again, to work with them to develop new prototypes. So it is a very cyclical type of experience when you're talking about design thinking. And so the best thing as entrepreneurs, we are very passionate about our ideas, but it is so important when we take this incremental step to understand the people with the problem, or who has the problem, who's affected by it, the animal, you know, when you talk about it from the planet context, who's impacted, who cares about what you're bringing to market. And some of you may have too. So for example, you're saying, okay, we care about the planet, we want to get rid of landfills, but maybe it's government who's responsible for that. So finding the people who can make a positive difference to contribute to that value there. So with the beginner's mindset, be humble, focus on the user, free your mind of you know, the biases that you may have as you're looking, oh, my idea is the best idea, nobody has ever done it. When people tell me in my mentorship session, I have no competition, I say, go back and look again. You have competition by proxy. Somebody's come up with the idea, something similar. And if it is so far out and novel, you maybe even want to be thinking about, you know, what exists that people can connect to that I could relate to tell an effective story. Because sometimes when you say something brand new, it scares people away as well. You may have those early adopters, but are they so much that can really drive your event, your products forward? Reserve judgment. We talked about it with the brainstorming thing. Welcome feedback. You're gonna hear, oh, your idea is not so good. You know, you're gonna hear, I really like that thing. I don't like that thing. Awesome. Let go, be experimental. You're going to, I will tell you as an entrepreneur, failure is part of the journey. And if you're not willing to embrace failure and this being experimental, you got to learn to know that you have to be open to this experience. There's highs, there's lows, but with your creative mindset and muscle that you're developing, you're going to find a way by asking the right questions, connecting with the right people. And even if what we've seen, people who have come through this program over the time, they've either made their first sale and go on to continue building their business. They come to a point, they realize that the market is either not ready for this product or service that they're bringing to market, and it is not fundable or sustainable or cannot be achieved in terms of the milestone. We've seen people pivot along the journey as well. So just keep in mind, try to be objective about this journey in this way as well. I will go to the next slide. So starting with empathy, right? The first step that we talk about. So in order to just, start with empathy, remember, we're going to be engaging with people with problems that, or desires, needs, wants that they have in the marketplace. And we are here to help. So I don't know if everyone is familiar with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, previously called the Millennial Development Goals, but really looking at these 17 major, and I think the language on here is not correct. I got a funny one, but that is so hilarious. But I don't know that language, so I'm not even gonna try. But I will play this short clip. Let me do this now. I will play this short clip so that you could at least see some of the goals. Can you hear? Awesome. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a quick second. Based on that video, and I know it might have gone a little fast, but what are some of the sustainable development goals that you are currently working on, may relate to if you didn't even know, your business could be in alignment with? Number 12, Nora, thank you so much for sharing. Responsible consumption and production. Awesome. Anyone else? We'll take one more before we continue. Okay, yeah. And honestly, your business may be able to relate to multiple. For my business, there's the top 7, but definitely the core 3 that we talk about is around reducing inequalities and when we serve entrepreneurs, so reducing inequalities, innovation, industry, and infrastructure. And the last one is around partnership, which is number 17. So yes, and great examples. And if you have not thought about it before, I would definitely encourage you to think about some of these sustainable development goals that your business may be able to relate to. I'm just going to share my screen again very quickly as we come to the end of our time together. For others, you may, and in fact, for all, if you're not in alignment with, the UN Sustainable Development Goals or other big problems per se, understand that at the core of every, person, there's some human needs that needs to be met. So you may say, we are on mission to reduce our clothing in the landfills. But why? Why does it matter? What do people want? And so looking at this wheel, and I'll just give you all a minute to kind of look at it. What are some of the benefits of reducing the waste to landfill that could be reflected here? Without saying we help reduce waste to landfill, what is a word or words that people who may be affected by landfills be able to connect to in this way? Can you take a look and find a word that would be connected to the human need in that way? And I cannot see the chat, so Cole, if you see any words coming in, or feel free to unmute.
My thing was muted, unfortunately. Responsibility, sustenance, conservation, safety.
Yeah, so imagine, hey, I love it. And the list could be endless, right? But when you understand with clarity your customer and the problem that they are facing and what truly matters to them, responsibility sounds like one that could matter really to them. So in your communication pieces, are you a responsible individual looking to make a positive difference? If you're looking to, recruit volunteers, the types of words that we use matter. They may not see the problem in the same way, but they are looking for an experience or a need or desire being filled based on the work that you're doing. So the language matters. So when just bringing it back to design thinking and how it matters. So we talked about, using empathy to understand the people, the problems that exist, who's affected by it, being able to then develop a problem statement, again, understanding the needs, not your needs. And I shouldn't say not your needs. Some entrepreneurs find that they start their entrepreneurial journey because of a need or problem that they experience and wanted to solve for others. That's kind of my story around wanting to build, inclusive communities for entrepreneurs. And so it may come from your need, but understand that you are not your business alone. Your business is not for you, it is for others. And by others being able to also raise their hand to say, yes, I identify, yes, I need this, yes, I want this, that is really at the core of what you're doing. And we talked about it endlessly tonight, the creative piece, identifying potential solutions, right? Versus just going, oh, the solution is this. And even if you have a solution today, I invite all of us to challenge how we've gotten to this point for our solution. Is it you just woke up one day and you just said, this is my solution? I know many of you have talked about, you're working with research to do primary research. That is the way, right? In terms of solutioning. So finally, and I know we're at 9 o'clock, but I wanted to just share these words with you all, and we will dive in deeper tomorrow morning. Entrepreneurship, social enterprise, innovation, creativity, idea, opportunity, scaling, and success. To each of us, we may have our own definition of what those words are, and we're going to explore those tomorrow. I look forward to that. We will be back together at 9:30 a.m. And we will continue discussing these words. We'll start off maybe with an exercise, just exploring what these words mean in definition, but also giving you all an opportunity to continue to learn and give, share with us. We want to hear your stories along this way. And again, I mentioned earlier, and my final thought is this, that you had a chance to do the pre-work in the classroom. So tomorrow we'll be spending more time just reflecting on the work that you've done thus far. So thank you all for being here with us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you all soon. Yes, if you can, before the session tomorrow, please review the work you did in the classroom. That will be super awesome.